Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. So we're doing introductions, and I just want to say I'm Diane Zhang. I'm the Membership Engagement Manager. I'm actually new to the team, so I'm excited to meet many of you via virtual and on Zoom. But I would also like to introduce my teammates, Chloe, Maggie, as well as Katie. We're all on the membership team, and we're excited to showcase more information on what your benefits are. And today our speakers, as well as members who are joining us, is Peter Hainley, Executive Director of CASA of Oregon, and Toyia Moore, Executive Director of Northwest Indiana Reinvestment Alliance. Both of them will share throughout the session a little bit about how they utilize their NCRC organization shortly. So before we go into that, I will actually pass it off to my colleague, Maggie.
Thanks, Diane. Hi, everyone. My name is Maggie Michlewicz. I may have talked to some of you already. I'm the Membership Engagement Specialist at NCRC. So if y'all ever have any questions about the benefits that come with being a member, or how to renew or how to join NCRC, you can always reach out to me. We'll share our contact information later on in the webinar as well. So I believe we're going to move into slides. Yeah. Thank you. If you could go back one, please. Thanks. So we wanted to start off with a quick overview of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition for those who are not familiar with it. We're a group of 600 plus grassroots member organizations with the purpose of creating opportunity for people across the country to build wealth. We do this through advocacy work. We work with many different community leaders, policymakers, as well as financial institutions. We were formed in 1990 by organizations that are have a national focus, regional focus, as well as local focuses, with the mission of increasing the flow of private capital into underserved communities, specifically those which are low income or communities of color. So one of the ways we do this by is by trying to expand the Community Reinvestment Act, and Peter and Toyia and Katie will get a little bit more into that later on in the webinar. I also want to mention that we have a very wide tent of organizations that are part of the coalition. So we have everything from social services providers to housing development organizations to land trusts and everything in between. There's really room for pretty much every type of organization to find their niche within the coalition and to find organizations that they can work with across the country or within their own regions. And then if you go to the next slide, here are a few more details about the cost of becoming a member. So we focus on a tiered membership due system. So eligible organizations include nonprofits, educational institutions, as well as state and local level government agencies. And then if you are a nonprofit, where we divide nonprofits into the size of their annual budget. So you can see here, if you're a small nonprofit, how much your annual fee is versus medium versus large. If you're a member of an organization that is not a nonprofit, educational institution, or a government agency, you can also become part of what we call the Just Economy Club, which is for individual supporters of NCRC. You can see the details there. You can choose to make monthly, annual, or one-time donations. And the link to that is actually justclub.org, which I'll go ahead and drop in the chat in a moment. But that is a great option for folks who cannot join the organizational membership part of NCRC, or their organizations are not quite ready to become members just yet. You'll get most of the same benefits as organizational members, and we're going to walk through those benefits next. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. I know later in the session, we'll go over as a reminder what the information again, and Maggie's always helpful. Happy to help if you need a refresher again after this. So we're going to shift to just highlighting a few benefits as members, just some top ones we think that would be most useful, especially those new to our membership, but also again, a good refresher for those who are veterans of the organization. So first and foremost is advocacy. This is a quite in-demand benefit for a lot of our members, and ultimately NCRC does many different things with advocacy work. First and foremost, serving as your advocate before Congress and federal regulatory agencies, as well as banking and financial agencies as well. In addition, we also provide expert commentary for national, regional, and local media, as well as our research and policy papers are consistently cited by journalists, economists, and scholars, especially on the themes of banking, housing, urban renewal, rural development, and civil rights. But most importantly, NCRC works to equip our members to advocate at the national level. So empowering all of you and helping all of you to be advocates, because you guys are the best individuals to also speak your story on the national level. So for instance, how we equip our members to be an advocate would be policy news bulletins. We also have monthly policy calls as well with our policy team, and this allows you to go to a deeper dive into the current NCRC campaigns and opportunities. A second item is we also provide a template comment letter, which members can sign on to these national campaigns, as well as, we can provide technical assistance to have our members become more impactful in their advocacy efforts. And then the last thing is, especially during our annual conference, we have an annual Hill Day or Advocacy Week. I know this year we'll chat more about it, but we'll have a virtual advocacy for this year's conference. But that's in a way the in-person effect you have on the national scale to be able to see your Congress individual or senator while you're in DC during the conference. And I will drop this in the chat. NCRC does have a policy agenda, which you can refer to. It's quite a long document, but our policy team will be happy to help you see which bullet points you're most interested in, how you can advocate in your community, but also on the national scale. So with that said, our advocacy benefit, I wanted to ask Peter and Toyia, could you share your experience with NCRC's advocacy and how it's helped you in your work? Why don't we start with Toyia, actually?
Hello, everyone. NCRC has been great with advocating to address the racial injustice in our nation that we face. And that helps us in our community because they've helped us advocate with other organizations locally, helping network and partnership. Well, organizations can help the community benefit as a whole. So they get us the information, what's going on in the nation, and we can come back and spread it to our local communities of what's going on, what's the trends, things that need to be addressed to eliminate or decrease the racial injustice that we face. So NCRC has been great with that, and it helps us serve our community better, our local region better. They have also helped us advocate with partners and local funders to be able to partnership to offer services that our communities need, that the local nation, everything is missing. So they have been very great with the advocacy for us and helping us advocate and know what to say to people and let them know what's going on in the nation, what we can create in our own communities to help our citizens that we serve. It's been great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Toyia. What about you, Peter?
So CASA of Oregon works throughout the state. A lot of work is in rural areas and particularly with farm workers. A lot of housing development work, development of clinics and Head Start centers. And so we work with the banks a lot to finance these things. And some banks do good and some banks don't. As far as advocacy goes, we work with NCRC to help the regulators to understand some of the problems that we may be having with banks, or maybe just generally with the banking industry, on how to make sure credit and investments are getting to the communities. And so NCRC has been very helpful when advocating with whether it's the GSEs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHLB system, or if it's with advocacy at HUD for programs that need to be better funded or to have programmatic changes. NCRC really keeps up on that, works with their members. So at a national level on the advocacy, it's been very helpful to be a member of NCRC to work in those areas. On a local level, we often have legislation at the state level that benefits from input from NCRC. And sometimes it's just connecting with another member in another state that might have some experience. We had a legislatively formed committee addressing racial disparities in home ownership. And so we're looking for some new ways of state level laws that we could pass that would maybe mimic federal laws or maybe just do something completely different. And so NCRC was really helpful in pointing us in the direction of some of those groups. And so just having that network of excellence of people who understand what's happening at the federal, state, and oftentimes at the local level has been really key for CASA of Oregon and for really our entire industry here, affordable housing industry in Oregon. They have helped us, organize some campaigns to help Latino businesses work together to try and advocate for more funding. And so, it's organizing, it's advocacy, it's a whole bunch of things that NCRC brings to the table.
Yeah, definitely. Katie, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to this advocacy discussion, especially what Peter and Toyia mentioned.
Yeah, I'll just say, thank you, Peter and Toyia. That was, perfect. And yeah, we're grateful for your partnership. And I'll just, echo what Diane said earlier, that, NCRC's ability to advocate on behalf of our members actually comes from our members' power. And yeah, so it's a team effort, right? It takes all of us fighting for a just economy. I did also want to share a little bit about how NCRC uses CRA and advocates around CRA. The Community Reinvestment Act is one of the policies that NCRC is most famous for leveraging and advocating for. And if you know what you're looking for, I feel like both our policy work and our programmatic work, you can see kind of the fingerprints of CRA and how we prioritize what we choose to take on. So I felt like it was worth kind of, diving in a little bit deeper there. So those underlying goals and purposes of this piece of legislation forms the rest of our work. It establishes a framework for partnerships between community groups and banks, which, both Peter and Toyia alluded to, and requires banks to meet the credit needs of the communities where they take deposits, including low and moderate income neighborhoods. Peter mentioned this a little bit, that NCRC and our members are at the forefront of advocating for a stronger CRA, really pushing regulators to make sure that CRA does what it's supposed to. And that includes reform to the law to make sure that it explicitly addresses racial inequality. And last month, the OCC acting comptroller actually shared with NCRC members that the federal bank agencies will be proposing an interagency rule implementing CRA in the near future. And so, that's something that our members will be engaged in very soon with us. Will be the work to remind the regulatory agencies that we need to make CRA exams more rigorous, that we need to expand data collection and improve communication around merger reviews. And so, stay tuned for that. Our members will be invited to participate in that comment process, and we'll be equipping our members to advocate for our communities through that. So NCRC also assists members to leverage CRA in their own communities to build stronger and more powerful relationships with banks, and pushing banks to increase their lending, investment, and to a smaller extent philanthropic giving, and doing that in a way that's done in partnership with the communities in which they're acting, right? Not just more money, but doing that really, in a way that's responsive to community needs. And this is done through relevant research, educational opportunities, including later this month, we'll share this at the end. We actually have a webinar specifically on the basics of CRA coming up. We do technical assistance with our members, with some of the leading experts on CRA, to make sure that you really understand how to leverage that legislation and understand how banks utilize it and think about it. And then we also organize our members to act together in coalition, which you may be familiar. One of the kind of more news splashy things that NCRC does as CRAs, we work with our members on campaigns to sign community benefits agreements. And these are a way for banks to spell out how they're going to satisfy CRA requirements when they merge. The agreements are between banks and community groups. And they're really they're a way for to open doors for low and moderate income communities and communities of colors, and they increase lending, investments, and philanthropy for underserved borrowers and neighborhoods compared to prior practices. So we've been doing this for a few years now. It's a work in progress. We're learning more and more about how to do these well. But since 2016, NCRC has facilitated the creation of community benefits agreements worth $441 billion with a B dollars. It's getting close to $500 billion now. It's a lot of money with 18 different banking groups. And all of our NCRC members are invited to participate in the CBA process. Although again, what that looks like is evolving over time, and we're learning more and more about how to best do that along the way. So I'll turn it over to Toyia and to Peter to share a little bit about your experience working with NCRC to better leverage CRA, whether it's through CBAs or through other relationship building with banks or advocacy with the regulators. So I'll let you guys decide who starts.
I can start. Go ahead and start. The CRA, the NCR has been really helpful with us with the CRA because it helped us understand what CRA brings to the table and the benefits that it offers to our local community. It assists us with getting in contact with some CRA reps in our local area and work with them to help with programs or funding for the surrounding organizations in our area. We have also Northwest Indiana Reinvestment Alliance, with working with CRA reps, has also created our Bankers Council. On that Bankers Council, we have quite a bit of CRA reps that get together quarterly, and we talk about things that are going on in the local community, how they can better benefit organizations and the community surrounding, what is going on, what is the housing trends, what are the rental trends, how can we better educate the community on different things that they're needing. So it's a very good, like I said, they've put us in a place where we understand CRA and what they have to offer for the communities and what they're lending, what kind of lending products they should be giving. And it also helps us sit before the banks and say, hey, we know that this community needs this. Are you able to do this for these people in this area? So it's been very great to be a part of NCRC for that understanding, education, and advocacy in that. And we've also participated in the CBAs, quite a few of those, just being a part of them, learning about them, listening, to be able to get help funding for the local areas, not even just our area, but other areas where the citizens can have access to lending products and to be able to get the things that they need. So it's been very good for us, and it's been beneficial, and we enjoy being a part of that and learning more about it and being a part of those CBA agreements and just kind of being able to help the local communities.
Thanks, Toyia.
So CRA passed in 1977. I got a job at a bank in 1980 and worked in banking for 10 years. And as I recall, CRA was a piece of paper hanging on the wall at a bank branch telling you there's a law. When I, towards the tail end of my tenure in the banking, I actually had applied for a position at CRA at a bank, didn't get hired. And the questions they were asking me, I kind of knew that it was like not something I wanted to do. And I learned something during that interview about really what CRA could do. And so, here we are, I'm afraid to say 40 years later, and CRA really is a powerful tool. And I think NCRC's education through their CRA 101 training, they help banks understand CRA better. They train bankers, which is a really good thing, because the banks might think they know it, but NCRC has people that actually know it, maybe even a little bit better. So that's really helpful that we're working both sides of the equation here to try and make sure that we get the best CRA as possible. For CASA of Oregon and for our industry here in Oregon, there was a mention of these CBAs, and Oregon was a hotbed over the last year of merger activity. We have 3 banking groups that are looking to do CBAs, and we also have KeyBank, which is one of the first banks to sign a CBA with NCRC, is coming back around for a second time. And so a multitude of meetings that NCRC has helped coordinate with the CEOs of those banking institutions to really help folks understand what it is that they should be doing as far as investments in the community. So, as far as how NCRC has equipped us, it's also, it goes to, research, and we're going to talk about research later, so I don't want to jump ahead. But, we have bank branches closing, and, helping the banks to know that there's people that need those branches. And, I remember once turning on public radio and, I heard their research department talking about branch closings, and I'm like, oh, this is great. They're out here in Oregon. NCRC is just popping up everywhere to help people understand the importance of CRA, the importance of branches in rural Oregon. I think finally, being able to use CRA for when banks have their regular exams is really important. And so NCRC is helpful in letting you know when those exams are coming up, how to comment. And that's really important because the regulators really do look at community input when they're doing those bank exams. So that's a little bit how NCRC has equipped me to use CRA.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. I don't think I even mentioned the support that we do in comment letter writing. So yeah, thanks for that. I will make sure that I cover that next time that we do this. Yeah, thanks guys. This is lovely. There's a lot more that we could say about this. Happy to follow up with folks afterwards. And again, we'll share the date for the CRA Basics webinar coming up soon for folks who want to go deeper into that. And that'll include some of our staff with more subject matter expertise there. But now I'm going to turn it over to Diane to talk about our research benefits. Oh. Diane looks like she might be having a technical issue.
You want me to?
Yeah, Maggie, why don't you
I
go
think
ahead?
she's back. No? Okay. All right, I will jump in on the research portion. One of the most important parts of NCRC and most important member benefits is our research department. We believe that data drives the struggle for economic justice. And we use all the data that we collect and analyze to inform our policy, our training, our organizing, our advocacy work. We have a research team that supports our members. They also do a lot of national research efforts and produce tools, visualizations, reports. They work with universities and other important organizations around the country on various topics. I believe, Katie, you have a link to one of them. So for example, one of the most recent reports that our research team put out was called Home Mortgages During COVID-19. And it examined the shifting trends of home ownership and the impact of the pandemic on it. And I want to say that was the one that we worked on with the University of Richmond, which is actually my alma mater, so go Spiders. But so that's one of the, research is such a big part of what lets us do our CRA work, what lets us hold banks and financial institutions accountable to reinvest back into the communities where branches are located. Without the data, without being able to come to the banks with the data, you wouldn't get very far. It's good to have those numbers and that proof in your hands. We also have a research tool called the Fair Lending Tool that is available on the Member Hub. If you're a member, you're able to log into the hub and use that tool on your own to see how banks are behaving in your area. And that's in addition to a bank branch locator so that you can also see where banks have branches in your area. Later on in this webinar, I will share my screen and show you where you can find that research tool. But before we do that, I also want to mention that that fair lending tool that I just talked about, we also have a webinar coming up on April 5th at 1 p.m. That is led by our research team. So if you wanted to learn more about that research tool before becoming a member, or if you're just curious to learn more about it and where those numbers come from, you can attend that in just under a month. So before we move on, I wanted to give the floor to Toyia and Peter if they wanted to speak about how research and how NCRC's research team specifically has helped them in their organization's missions.
Sure. There's been articles in the Portland Business Journal, which is part of a national network of business journals. And they've done research on bank lending, using small business lending data to see, how are banks doing? And generally, they're not doing so well. And so there's been times where, because someone might know me or they might know my affiliation with NCRC, I can refer those folks to NCRC to get even better data. So when they're reporting out these stories, or if they've reported these stories and I want to make a point maybe with a bank, I'll share the story with the research department. They'll give me some additional data to go have a conversation, either back again with the person who wrote the story, or to the bank and say, hey, the story kind of captured it, but there's more data that we have that tells even a more robust story. And so, the research departments have been very helpful in that respect. I mentioned about the addressing racial disparities in home ownership legislative task force. Had also referred that task force, the folks, to NCRC research so that they could pull up information that basically painted a picture of what was happening with mortgage lending in Oregon. And so able to take full advantage of the research capacities. If you go on the NCRC website on the hub, there's numerous reports that they've done that really speak, a wealth of knowledge to the redlining that has happened, to the injustices that happen, even though we have laws on the books. The fact that they're either not being enforced or they need to be revised. The research department has really been able to shine a light on a lot of those issues. And so it's been a real helpful thing for us to be able to have that at our fingertips as a member of NCRC.
I'm fairly new to my role as the executive director, so I'm learning a lot more about the research team and the research tools available through NCRC. Our CEO, Jean Ishman, has been doing this for quite some time. So she has created the Lake County Housing Task Force. That's our county. And we have over 50 members of non-local organizations that get together. And as Peter was saying, we let them know the research that NCRC is doing and what's going on. And that's how we're able to get together as a group and find out what we need to be, working together to get, to help the community. So that research that and I've explored the tools. It's so much information. I'm still learning. I'm excited. I'm looking at the reports. It just has my wheels turning on things to, be able to do for the organization, the communities, and the citizens here. So it's been really good to know what's out there. But like I said, it's a wealth of information for what I can see. I'm just, taking my time going through it. I'm also talking with the CEO on things she's found out, but I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I'm fairly new to it, so I'm learning more and more about it, but what I've been seeing and how it's impacted us and helped us, like you said, get together as a group and say, this is going on here. Being able to go to a bank and say, well, this city or, or state is using this information, it's been very great for us. I really like that, the research that NCRC offers to us.
That's great. Thank you, Toyia. That's really helpful. And thank you, Peter, as well. So one of the next things that we wanted to talk about that is available to members is the National Training Academy. And what I'm going to do for this portion is I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see on the website where you can see more about the National Training Academy. So just give me a second. All right, can folks see that? Yeah, nice, thank you, Toyia. So the National Training Academy, you can find more about it if you go to our website, ncrc.org, and then hover over programs. You can see learning right here. So it'll open. Yeah, there we go. So the National Training Academy provides trainings and classes on housing counseling, capacity building. So we cover topics everywhere from grant writing, strategic planning, program service delivery, fundraising, measuring impact, etc. A lot of our offerings right now are virtual and they're open and free to everyone. So even if you are not an NCRC member at the moment, you are able to visit the NTA website here, click the Learning Hub, and then see whatever classes in the catalog interest you and go ahead and sign up for it. As you can see right now, most of them are free. Like I said, open to all members and non-members alike. And I've gotten a lot of good feedback from members that I've spoken to in the past. They really value the housing related courses that are offered here. And you can see some of the topics that we're presenting in the next month, 2 months or so. I want to mention that for folks who are already members of NCRC, we've changed our system recently. So even if you have attended an NTA class in the past, you'll have to set up a new account, and you can see more details about that if you go back to that first page where returning members, new users right here. So while this is open to everybody who is interested in attending a training. I will mention that one of the benefits of becoming an NCRC member is that if you would like to do a group training for your organization, and at times we also offer in-person trainings for group trainings, NCRC members would receive a discount on the price of that group training. If you are interested in that, you can just go ahead and contact our NTA team here, or email them directly. Sony and Kevin are great to work with, or you can also reach out to me and I'll make sure that we get you in touch with the right people. I know that Toyia has a lot of experience with our National Training Academy, so I'd like to give her a chance to talk more about her experiences there.
The Training Academy, I'm new in the executive director role, but I've been doing, been in this field for over 12 years now. So I have attended a lot of the training that the NCRC offers. It's very good training. It's really, like she said, it's so many different topics, and it can help you implement best practices within your organization. You learn about new programs. It also helps train your staff, has you think about strategic planning. It can even help create new initiatives and programs. So for example, here at Northwest Indiana Reinvestment Alliance, just from attending some trainings and the advocacy and on the policy calls, we've did a new initiative called Diverse Women in Business, a small business training and network group. So it gives you the tools and the resources and the education to be able to expand your services, expand your programs, think of different things new. So it's been a very great tool for us. And as she stated, as I stated, we have the Lake County Housing Task Force and we have our Bankers Council. So when we get with those groups, we tell them about the Training Academy for things they may be looking for their staff, or new things they're trying to start within their organization, so they can go in and see if some of those trainings will be helpful. So we're always saying, these are things that NCRC offers and will get you more education and help you understand different products or services or what's currently going on or how to implement something new. So the Training Academy has been very, very helpful. Like I said, I've been using it for years and it's taught me a lot. And I'm always looking forward to a new training they're providing, or sometimes taking the training again just to get a different insight or learn something differently the next time around. It's been great.
That's great. Thank you, Toyia. Yeah, I hear a lot of great feedback about the National Training Academy. So I definitely encourage folks to check it out, see if their staff would be interested in it. And like we mentioned, it's open to everyone. And a lot of the trainings nowadays are free. As Toyia mentioned, there are also in-person trainings during non-pandemic times, and we're really hoping to get back to that in the near future. So another thing that is a benefit to NCRC membership is called the Housing Counseling Network, or HCN. So I'll go ahead and share my screen really quickly just so y'all can see where exactly it is on our website. But basically, if you go to programs, housing counseling, there you go. The Housing Counseling Network, HCN, is open to NCRC members, which are housing counseling agencies, and NCRC would then serve as their HUD intermediary. You can see a lot of details here. Some of the benefits include grants, scholarships, TA. You have access to MPAC Pro, which is a client management system for a few of your staff members. There are monthly meetings with the cohort that is in HCN at the time. So there's prep for exams that are coming up. There's speakers brought in. It's a really close-knit group. I will say that while everyone in HCN is a NCRC member, there is an additional application in order to be part of HCN. It's a free application, but the reason that we have it is because we want that to be a small, tight-knit cohort that can really get to know one another and support one another throughout their exam prep and more. So if this is something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend looking into it. People have found this very valuable. And like I said, there's grants related to it as well as other services. And I know that Toyia, you've also had experience in this. So if you want to share a little bit, that would be great as well.
Yes, the HCN network is great. As you stated, it's a smaller group. We meet monthly. And it's like helping with the HUD certified counselors. So we learn new things there. They offer us a client management system that we can use to be able to track our clients and demographics and data and outcomes so we can better, make changes to make services better. They help us keep up to date on compliance and new regulations that are always coming up. So that group, we're able to sit in a group of people throughout the country in different areas and, see what they're doing for their housing clients they're serving. It builds capacity. It helps. It's actually helped with us getting certified counselors, HUD certified counselors, and it's keeping them up to date with their trainings and the different things that are changing. As you know, things are always changing. There's different ways to do things. There's rules that are being changed, and it helps us get a knowledgeable staff because we're meeting and we're talking with other people, organizations and counselors that are dealing with the same things and how to better do things. So it's just helping us get a knowledgeable staff, attending webinars and training, helping with funding, different HUD programs, different HUD money that may come down the line that we may be able to participate in. And just helping us get a knowledgeable staff to help service our clients properly, to make sure they're getting the right service, the right information, and the things that they need. It's been great. The HCN and Spirit, the Housing Council Network has been very good. Like I said, a very small group, but they're there. You call them, they reach out, they're very informative, and you're able to reach them and get the information that you need and the help you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Toyia. Yeah, small and mighty. So we're going to talk last about the Just Economy Conference. Well, not almost last. And then Maggie's going to walk you through a handful of things on our website. The Just Economy Conference, we're so excited to have it back in person this year. Last year we did it virtually. I think we've all really missed being together. In June 13th through 14th, we'll be gathering in DC. It's going to be amazing, guys. It's really the place for everyone who cares about a just economy. You'll be there with folks that are doing the same type of work that you're doing. You'll be there with folks that are working for a just economy in different ways. The synergies and the networking and the inspiration is just huge. There's a lot of great content in the works. We'll be sharing that in the weeks ahead. But for right now, we want you to mark your calendars. We mentioned before that this year, instead of an in-person Hill Day, we will be doing a virtual advocacy week the week before, June 6th through 10th. So you'll also be starting to hear more and more about that as we get closer. The Advocacy Week is exclusive to members. The conference is open to everybody, but there's a very steep discount for members. Yeah, check it out. And I'm going to turn it over to Peter and Toyia to talk a little bit about their conference experience. How does it help your work? What do you enjoy most of the conference? What are you looking forward to the most about this year's conference?
Well, I do a lot of conferences, and in my 30 years, I have to say this is probably one of the best conferences for content, for networking. Hill visits, when they did happen in person, were really important too. And being able to bring a delegation from Oregon to attend the conference and to have them, see the impact of NCRC's work and the quality of speakers and presenters that come. It's extraordinary. I really have appreciated NCRC and all the work that they've done on the conferences over the years, because they're top notch.
So I've only attended one conference so far, and that was 2 years before the pandemic. And it was an excellent conference. It was very, very informative. They had great speakers that provided great information and tools and resources. It was very great. The networking was great. You got to meet with people that were, trying to do the same things that you were doing or had did it and succeeded. And you can call, and they were very, personable, where you can talk to them and they can give you information. I've even reached out to some people after the conference to get information and get insight on how to do things better. But it was very informative. They even have I don't know if they're doing it, but the housing counseling network trainings there for the counselors at the last conference, where you can, send your counselors there to go through a in-person training, meet with other counselors, and then also attend some of the conference and the events and hear people speak and how the organizations can grow and how, like I said, CRA just gives you a lot of information, and it's the speakers that come, like I said, top notch. They're explaining, they're coming out and meeting with you. And so it just left me with, I'm excited. I want to be back in person, want to meet some new people, network and learn some new things and hear from some great speakers. So I think I'm excited about that, because like I said, it just gave me so much different information. And I've been to several conferences, but this is one of the best ones I've been to, because it's really thorough and they think about what they put together to present to us for advocacy, how to learn and how to be able to create and how to eliminate the racial injustice, and just get your wheels turning as to what you can do differently as an organization for your community. So I'm ready to go and come back and see what I can offer here or get into our communities here from that conference, the networking and partnership.
Awesome. Thanks, Toyia. And Maggie, I'll turn it over to you to show us how we can access a lot of the great tools that we've talked about today.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll try to be quick because we're running low on time and we wanted to make sure we covered people's questions. I'm going to show everyone how they can access the Member Hub, which is that part of the website that only members have access to. So once you have joined NCRC, and for those who haven't, if you would like to join NCRC, you would go to the website, click membership, join, and then it'll take you through the step-by-step process. Or you can reach out to membership@ncrc.org for an invoice if you'd prefer to pay via check or a bank transfer. So, but if you are already a member, you would go to ncrc.org, hover over membership, and then you can click the Member Hub. And as soon as this opens up, it'll ask you to log in with your email address. So this is likely your own work email address. Some folks might not have an account yet. You would reach out to your primary account holder for your organization and ask them to add you as a team member. If you're already the primary account holder, you know that you have an email address. You can go ahead and log in, sign in using password. And just so folks know, if you don't remember your password, there is a reset button. So just go ahead and click that if you need that, or you can email me and I will send you a reset. So once you are logged in, you'll be able to see all the reports that we mentioned earlier. There's recordings of old webinars that we've had. You can hover over account at the top and you can see your settings and billing. If you're the primary account holder for your organization's NCRC membership, settings and billing is also where you would go to add team members so that other folks on your staff have access to the Member Hub, as well as seeing when you're due to renew, making sure your auto renewal is turned on, making sure your credit card information is up to date, things like that. Right, so if you scroll down, you can see the newsletters that you can sign up for, and these are pretty popular as well. And you can kind of curate the newsletters that you're receiving depending on your interests and your organization's interests. You see all of our latest news, you see upcoming calls. So this was actually yesterday. We didn't mention this, but we do have monthly legislative regulatory calls with our policy team every second Wednesday of the month for members only. And there's usually 20 to 40 members that attend that. Here are the webinars from the past. And then one of the main things that I wanted to show everyone is are our research tools. So I mentioned the fair lending tool as well as the bank branch locator. They are right here once you log into the member hub. And if you click the member tools, it takes a second to open up. But you have the fair lending tool here. You have instructions. You can put in whatever metro, state, or county that you're interested in, and it will result in a number of statistics and graphs and visualizations of how banks are performing in your area. If this is a more intense tool than you're used to, we also have definitions here, a tutorial on how to use it. And like we said, our research team is very open to communicating with our members and walking you through what exactly you're seeing. So just the last thing I'll do before I hand it back to Katie for Q&A, I just want to make sure that folks can see exactly what pops up when you use the fair lending tool. So you can see all of the very in-depth details you get here. You can download it, you can print it out. I've heard from other members in the past that this has been very useful for presentations that they're giving to banks or to city councils. It's nice to have visualizations, but I would say this is one of the great benefits that you get from NCRC, and I really recommend everyone at least checks it out. And then just to reiterate, if you're not sure whether or not you have a login already, just reach out to me at membership@ncrc.org. I'll make sure that you're either added to your team or I'll let you know whether or not you're a member. So Katie, I'll hand it back to you so that we can wrap things up.
Sure. Chloe, I'm going to ask if you could put the survey link in the chat. As we're coming to a close here, we're not going to have as much time as I had hoped for Q&A, but if you are leaving this with more questions than answers, then feel free to reach out directly to Maggie or let us know in that survey, and we will follow up. We will also be following this webinar with an email that will include the recording of the webinar, as well as information about the upcoming webinars on the fair lending tool and on our CRA basics that are coming up in the next few weeks. And of course, more information and the link to become a member. So thank you everyone so much for your participation. I do want to say thank you again to Toyia and Peter, and close with a question for them. Toyia and Peter, what's one piece of advice that you would give new members or folks who are thinking about becoming members of NCRC?
So if you're a community development or economic justice person, there is something at NCRC for you. So find somebody who has participated in a CDA, in a community benefits agreement, talk to a member in your state. If you're a research geek, check out the data piece on the website. And the conference is a great way to determine whether or not you want to become a member. So that would be my advice to folks who are on the fence or not sure whether they would want to become a member, reasons to become a member. Oh, I should say the CRA Basics 101 is great. I've seen that training probably 3 times and I love it. So it's really good.
I learn just every time.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of Peter. It's just great for advocacy, understanding the policies, the education that they have through the trainings is great information, and you're going to get something out of it. You're going to get the training for your to be better organization. You're going to get some networking and find out about information to make, how to work on new programs and make adjust to your program. So you will get something out of being a member. And the conference, like I said, it's going to get your fire turning, because you're going to hear good information, hear good speakers, and see how personable. You're going to meet people. So it's going to be great, and you're going to get something out of it to help your organization, to help the communities. And it's just what you put into this was what you'll get out, because there's a lot of information, so much you're going to get from this being a member of NCRC.
Awesome. Thank you, Peter and Toyia. And thanks again to all of you for participating. We've got a few slides coming up with just some reminders. And again, we'll share all this in an email following the webinar. So thanks again, y'all.